Enjoy your meeting.
The good stuff of what we've got going on. Who else do I have calling? Unless that's the same person. All right. And let me share my screen this morning. There we go. Fantastic. Well, what we're doing with this sales process training and why we're doing this, and let me kind of set the stage for this real quick as well. It is a new sales process. It is not the same sales process we've done. Yes, I've kept it 10 steps, but it's really going to be completely different 10 steps than what we've done in the past. And remember this with sales training, especially sales training, but anything that you do that you have to learn, you just cannot press a magic button and just learn it. You just can't say, give me a book and I read it and that meant I know it now. The key, the 4 steps of learning are really, number one, you've got to be exposed to something. You have to have awareness of it. Learning does not take place at awareness level, even though a lot of people would love to have it be done at the awareness stage. It's not how it happens. So if I told you, hey, man, you got to ride a bike, and you watched a YouTube video and you said, oh, wow, this bike riding thing is pretty cool, you didn't learn anything. You were exposed to something new. But then you might have seen a demonstration. Okay, you see somebody riding a bike. You move your pedals this way. This is how you brake. This is how you steer. And you got demonstration. But the demonstration does not mean you've learned anything. Where learning occurs is where you get on the bike and you start practicing. But you got to fall down a little bit. It's going to be a little bit rough. Your nervous system is not used to it. But once you start practicing it over and over again, then you begin to learn it. Your nervous system makes the adaptations in your brain. The neurons get fired up, and then all of a sudden you start to learn it, and then after practice, then you have it. So this is why we're doing these classes like this, because we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to practice and not just get exposed to the concepts of what the sales process is. This is really the key to execution. Now, I've already released the first video, which I highly advise you to go back and watch. This will be on a cycle as we get through the different phases of the sales process. I'll start back from number 1 so we can discuss things and have conversations about them. But that first video, I'm telling you, is all about understanding the buy-in and the reasons why this is the most important thing that you can focus on in your store, and that's the sales process. We go through all the different ways to increase revenue, but the jury is out. I mean, there's no way that you could see that this is the way that there's to gather the money that's there waiting for you. So I'm not going to go through what we went through in the last class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much start off right by just going over some quick review of that, and then we'll get right into this first part of the sales process here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen in just a second, and then you'll see it. Okay, let me share my screen here, and you should be able to see this. Now hit mute on your phone if you could. And if you guys have questions, comments, remember the chat box in the little lower right-hand corner. Send me a chat. Raise your hand if you want to raise your hand, and that will let me know that you do have a question, and then we could just address it there, or if you want to discuss something a little bit more. Okay, so I'm sharing the screen. Hopefully you could see this here. Just give me a quick chat, somebody, and let me know that you can see my screen. It says the best way to hit your growth goals is, or the best way, that would be an art. Somebody chat me if you can. Lionel, are you there? Thank you. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I want to make sure I'm not showing something that you guys can't see. So what we discussed in the first training, video number 1, by the way, you can access those training videos on the interactive chat forum. In the upper left-hand corner, I've got a series that I've started, and I'll keep all the training videos there nice and organized. So you could just go into that one series, and you could see what's going on, keep updated, make sure your employees are watching those things. So the best way to hit your growth goals are, number 1, We talked about the importance of knowing your closing ratio and knowing your average ticket. Well, the closing ratio is the only thing right now that we can't track automatically. We're looking at, and we have some franchisees who are willing to test it. It's going to be a camera that has the beam. When they cross the beam, it counts the customers. But since we don't have that yet, we have to go a little old school, and you need to check 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, how many customers came into the store, how many customers did you talk to? If you don't know that number, you're not going to know your closing ratio. And as we talked in the first video, in the first recording, it's very, very important to understand that just going from a 30% to a 40% closing ratio, thousands and thousands of dollars in your store. We want to look at behaviors, but not just throwing out a goal and say, oh, you got to do 10 sales a day, or you got to have a $200 average ticket. Those are goals, but we've got to really look at the behaviors that make those goals happen. And what the conclusion is that it's closing ratio, increasing the average sale, selling the total package, increasing your retail sales, and then reducing returns and discounts. These really are the best ways to hit your growth goals. Yes, we have to have the acquisition of customers, so we need to have customers walking through the door. But despite what the common myth is, that people think I just need more and more and more customers walking through the door, you've got to make sure that we're doing the best we possibly can when they come in. We're not a business like a Subway or a Dollar General where people come in, or a Walmart for that matter. You don't get helped in Walmart. You go in, you look for what you want, and for 99% of the times, you buy it and leave. That's not our business. Our business is a specialty wellness retailer, educational-based business, where we do have to go through processes, and we don't have hundreds of people walking through our door a day. So really, this is extremely, extremely important that we focus on this. What I talked about, again, is accountability, though. You have to hold your staff accountable. You have to hold your people. You have to hold yourself accountable. And you have to inspect what you expect. We're going to do the best that we can as we have field ops people come back into your stores. Once they start to understand the fundamentals of our program, they can only come in a little bit, but you're there every day. Your managers are there every day, right? We've got to have discussions of what happened with that customer. How many people did you talk to? How many people did you see? What were the objections? What happened with those conversations? That's why I'm saying 12, 2, 4, 6, all those hours we're having conversations to say, okay, something as simple of how many potential sales opportunities did you have for the day? That's a new term. You're going to see it. You'll hear it a lot, PSOs. But right now, I guarantee probably 99.8% of you, if I called up randomly and say, hey, how many PSOs did you have for the day, it's a guess. What we've got to do is stop having it a guess, and we've got to make it just, I need to know this, and I'll show you how we track that. Number of sales, obviously, what is the daily closing ratio? You're going to see a big discrepancy. Some people might have a 20, 30% closing ratio. Some people might be at a 70% closing ratio. There's always room for improvement, but we could see then who we need to focus on and where we need to really do some training with. What's the average ticket sale? What's the average multiple items percentage? How many scans on the iStep is critical? I'm going to be talking about the iStep over and over and over again. It's going to be a major part of our sales process. Yes, it gives a little bit of the sizzle and the wow factor. Yes, it does really set us the stage for why we're doing certain things. But for me, the biggest thing is I could go to the machine, and on a weekly basis, I get an email that shows me what's going on. I can see, employee number 1 did 10 scans. Employee number 2 did 11 scans. Employee number 3 only did 2 scans. How come? They can tell me all they want that I'm going through the process, but I see you only scan 2 people. You're not. Right? So that's very important to me that we have another level of accountability. We could look at how many customers we had today versus last year. I want you to have accountability for yourself to say how much role-playing and practice were done on a daily basis. And you're going to do this by reviewing those lifestyle evaluation forms, the new forms that we released. You should have something like this. Every person who's greeting a customer should have a clipboard in their hand. They should have their own clipboard. You could come up with an official form. I'll come up with something so it makes it even easier. But look, what is this form? Every person that you talk to, I want you just to mark it down. If you introduced yourself and said, hi, welcome back to Foot Solutions, I'm Ron, and you are? Oh, okay, John, nice to meet you. And you wrote down John, I want those forms saved. If it says that you talk to 10 people throughout the day, 9 people throughout the day, I should see 9 evaluation forms. If they say, well, number 8, the person just walked in and wanted to know, what we had because they're waiting for their pizza from Pizza Hut, well, let's have that discussion. Okay, well, you couldn't get their name. Did you greet them? Did you say, I'm Ron and you are? Because most of the time when you say that, they automatically say their name. And then we can see, okay, and you made 4 sales, you're at a 44% closing rate. Okay, the next day you talk to 11 people, you only made 3 sales, a 27% closing rate. It's not complicated stuff, but I'm going to ask you to make the commitment to follow up with it, because if not, what are we inspecting? We're just talking about stuff, and there's no execution. The other thing is to look at that lifestyle evaluation form like I just mentioned. Even if it's just a date and somebody's name, but if we got to the point of getting them on the scanner, I at least should have their size and the width, what type of arch do they have, and I'm marking down with a pencil or a pen where their pressure points are. I should have at least have that point. Then as we do a gait analysis, I'm making some notes. As we're going through the foot assessment, we're palpating their feet, I should have some notes. As I'm looking at the shoes that they're currently wearing, I should have some notes. These are discussions that we can go back and hold people accountable with. And it can't be just how many sales did we do today. That's management, not even 101. That's called annoying management. That's called it doesn't do anything management. That's like hiring a personal trainer and they tell you every day how fat you are when you step on the scale. Yeah, I know. I can see the same scale. I know I'm not at my goal. But unless they're talking about the behaviors that you're doing, those kind of conversations don't get us anywhere. Right? So this is what I'm talking about, is raising the level of accountability with our sales associates. So let's talk about the selling process. First thing I want you to understand is that selling is a skill. The ability to sell is a skill that must be developed. It must be practiced. It must be learned. If you're telling yourself, well, I'm not just a good salesperson, I'm not a born salesperson, that's okay. Nobody is born a salesperson. Somebody practiced that. Somebody had a model, a role model that they followed. The first step is starting, though, with a clear strategy. What we've got to understand is that amateurs wing it, professionals practice. If you were playing chess, to be a really good chess player, you're thinking 5 moves ahead of what could potentially happen by me doing this. We've got to get out of the practice of just winging it. And every presentation is different. And every conversation is different. And we didn't follow a process. Sometimes we recommended orthotics. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we asked questions about, I went to one of our own stores with one of our own corporate employees. I said, let me just see you do the sales process before we started this new training. And I noticed you didn't do a gait analysis with me. How come? Oh, I noticed that when you walked in. I didn't know that as a customer. Isn't that important for me to know? I said, I noticed you didn't do the bone demonstration. Well, I didn't have to do the bone demonstration for you. But the truth is, every conversation, I guarantee you, without a process is different. Then how can you effectively monitor and improve behaviors if all you're doing is winging it every time? Can't. So, let's think about this, and I want to ask you a question. Chat with me if you can. How much time do you think is necessary to learn the skills of becoming effective in the sales process, to become effective as a salesperson? What would you say your guess is? How much time is necessary? I'll give you a base little understanding here. It says that it takes how many days to create a habit? How many days does we hear that cliche? How many days does it take to create a habit? Does anybody know that? You've heard it. This is role playing. Come on, this is interact. Thank you. I got someone who's feedbacking. Lionel says 14 days. Thank you for playing along, Lionel. Well, statistics show, studies show, there was a study done in London that it takes 21 days to do basic things. Like, I need to add an extra glass of water a day. There's no brain work involved. There's nothing that's complicated. You're not changing a major habit. 21 days to do basic things. But it could take 60, 90, and even more to get some more advanced. Is selling a little bit more advanced than drinking a glass of water? Yes, it is. So let me ask you this question. How much time have you devoted to practicing and role-playing, even if it was our old sales process that we had, which there's big improvements in it? The biggest thing that I saw when I had to go into a franchise that was failing and a franchise that was worried about it, whether they could keep their lights on or not, immediately we started practicing probably 2 to 3 hours a day for the sales process. And within a couple weeks, I was able to make a dramatic improvement. In between selling, in between working with live customers, is when you should be going back over the sheet, going back over the sales process, even practicing how to walk up to someone and say, welcome back to Foot Solutions, I'm Ron, and you are. What brings you in today? That requires practice. I'm going to say and ask for the commitment of at least a half an hour a day with your associates. If you're not doing that, what are we doing here? Even in the skill of being effective as a podorthist, there should be conversations and increased and improved and continual conversations about how we become better and what we're doing. The sales process, if you go back and watch video number 1, I want you to plug in your numbers. You'll see that if you want to generate an extra $10,000, an extra $20,000 a month, this is going to be the way to do it. And why wouldn't we devote a half an hour of practicing these? I don't care if it's 5 minutes at a time. Let's just go over step 1 again. Let's go over step 1 again. Let's go over step 2. Let's go over the scan. Remember, it's not about exposure. It's not about even just them seeing a demonstration. Where learning occurs is in the role play and in the practice of the skills that we are being exposed to until it gets in our nervous system. Then we should be able to be delegated. Imagine if we trained people in this country, which we might, because based on how I see some people drive, that we said, read a book, watch a video, here's your driver's license, go drive. No, it doesn't work that way, right? Even the learner's permit, the first stage is you have to be with somebody who's an adult who can be working with you and coaching you. Some people, I think, might have skipped that point because they drive like they just read a book and drive. They probably weren't taught very well how to do it. But I'm going to challenge you that we raise the standard of what we're doing with our associates here. Now, I want you to take on a mentality of always be closing. ABC. Some of us are not salespeople, like I said. Some of us have never been in the sales business before. We've worked in different corporate positions, and we were never in sales. And for some of us, we have a connotation that selling is bad. It's something you do to somebody. It's manipulative. It's pushy. That's how people sell who don't know how to sell. Because when you really do love your profession and what you do and realize you're doing something for someone else, especially with us at Foot Solutions, you shouldn't have that mentality. But look, when you're with customers, find a way to make it happen. Stay on the floor with the customer until they leave. This is not a self-service business. When you're with the customer, 100% of your attention should be on that customer. Everything we do starts with the sale. Assume the sale. Ask for the order. We aren't a sales business. We are not in I had 14 good conversations with people business. If ultimately we're not increasing our closing ratio and we're getting people to buy into what we're recommending and they're not actually giving us our money, until they actually give us our money, nothing happens. But if we're confident in what we're recommending, this should be really an understood concept here. Now, let me ask you this, and I'm not going to continue until I get some answers on this. What percentage of the people that walk through your door are potential sales? What percentage are potential sales? I think it's 30%, 50%. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, Lonell. 100% of the people that walk through our door are potential sales. So any type of pre-filtering or any type of, that customer's not going to buy, they were just looking. I don't care if they did come in just to wait while their pizza was being cooked. All of them are potential sales. Now, the statistics kind of work out pretty funny that about a third of the customers who come through your door are going to buy no matter what you do. And this problem with this statistic is it spoils us because we can do things badly. We can have bad selling techniques. We could ask dumb questions. We could make bad recommendations, and a third of the customers are still going to buy. A third of the customers, though, are never going to buy. No matter how good you are, no matter how great, you could offer them the product for free, they still wouldn't want it. That's about a third. So what does that leave? That leaves about another third on the table that you do not know. And since customers don't walk in with a green label that says, hey, I'm the third that's going to buy. Oh, I'm a red, I'm not going to buy. Oh, I'm a yellow, I could be on the fence. Since they don't know that, and you're not psychic, and I'm not psychic, and there's no way to know, we have to treat every potential sales opportunity as a real opportunity here. So why do people buy? Why do people buy? Let's talk about this. Why do you think, and please chat with me, people make a decision when they're in your store to buy from you? What do you think some of those reasons are that they decide, you know what, I'm going to get this? What comes to your mind of why people might make that decision to buy? You think it's need? I hear that a lot. You think it's because they want something? I hear that a lot too. Common answer that I hear as well as impulse. There's just something got them and they wanted to buy it. Need, want, impulse are three main reasons why I hear that. But I'm going to tell you it's not just need, want, and impulse. Those are, it's not always because they need it, not always because they want it, but why they make that decision to buy from you in your store. Number one, they have made a decision that they like you or they like your company. Have you ever made a decision to not go back to a restaurant because you had a rude waiter or because the manager didn't treat you right, someone didn't treat you right? John Greco, great, trust, another one. But they liked you is number one. So we've got to do everything in our power to get people to like us. If you're abrasive, if you're a jerk, if you have a nasty tone to your voice, if you're not really paying attention to them, they don't like you. Yep. And John, the other reason why people buy is because they trust you. People have built-in radars that are going off all the time. I call them built-in BS detectors. and they're constantly going, do I like this person? Hey, you know what? It works with me as well, with you guys as franchisees. You're making a determination from the moment that you met me. Do I like you? Do I like this guy, Ron? If I do something that causes you not to like me, then the chances that you're going to buy into what I'm recommending are probably very slim. I've got to be very aware of that. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I might do something even unconsciously that gets you to not like me. But the other thing is you got to trust the person that you're working with. They got to like you, they got to trust you, and finally it has to make sense to them. It doesn't have to make sense to you. It has to make sense to them of why you're recommending something. If we could get those things in order, then we're going to have some sales. So let me ask you this. What could we do, and I would like some feedback, to get people to like us? What are some things we can do to get people to like us more? Ian, John, and Lionel? Jim? You guys got a thought on that? What can we do to get people to like us? I'll throw some out. What about, let's talk about simple things. Hygiene. Hair's combed. Shirt's ironed. Pants are ironed. What about the fact that you don't have dandruff? What about the fact that you brushed your teeth this morning? that's John says talk to them. How you talk to them. As you can tell, I was born and raised in the South. Now, I was born and raised in New York. So when I first moved down to Birmingham, working in a retail store, man, I stood out like a sore thumb, and they knew it. So I had to slow my talk down. I had to get a little bit more Southern because immediately people from the South don't like those Yankees. What about this? What about that smile on your face? I know it's the 100th customer you worked with for the last 2 days, and you are burnt out. What about that fact? But what about if you got a cranky scowl on your face? How we approach them, why we greet the customer helps us establish like quickly. Ignoring somebody doesn't cause them to like you. And what about trust? How do we build trust with people? How do we build trust? Say what you mean what you say, be consistent, don't try to bamboozle them, definitely don't ever lie to them, be honest with them. I mean, the moment you break trust with a person, just like in a marriage, you do something that causes me not to trust you, I'm done with you. I don't even know if I can work with you. So we have to be able to understand that look, in sales, they talk a lot about closing, and they talk about overcoming objections. How are you going to close that customer? How are you going to overcome objections? Well, here's the thing. If we can focus on how we open the sale, and we do that effectively, and we can get someone to like us and trust us, when it comes to the time that we're making a recommendation and getting them to and it makes sense to them, we don't have to worry about all kinds of fancy closing techniques and overcoming objections techniques. Focus on the beginning of the sales process. Get them to like you and trust you, and you will have, most of the time, a customer that's willing to just take your recommendation. You got to focus on these things. Like and trust. Where do you think these things happen? Establishing like and trust quickly. And you'll only have a few seconds, by the way. You do this in the beginning of the sales process. Now, the greeting. This is the first step, step number one. I would say this is so simple that starting today, this becomes mandatory, that there is no other option, that this is what we're implementing in our store. This is the greeting. Now, if you can see the customer, you greet the customer. It means if you're working with somebody else, you greet them. And all the greeting is an acknowledgement. The fact of giving somebody respect that they walk through your door, you're going to acknowledge and make eye contact with them, and you're going to greet them with a nice, warm, welcoming, hi, welcome to Foot Solutions. Good to see you again. Welcome back. How you doing? Just a nice welcome. Would you realize that probably, I would say 80%, if I'm not just thinking of the stores that I go into, at least 80 to 90% of the stores that I walk into, you never even get greeted? The employees look right past you. They ignore you. What do you think about that? Now I'm in the store. I'm going, okay, it's been a minute. It's been 2 minutes. No one's even greeted me yet. What I wanted to show you, where is it? Oh, okay. Did you guys see this new footwear insight? If you didn't see it, this is where we just got some of our franchisees got an award for being, let me just see here because I want to show you this. In this thing, they rated the different stores, the Gold Service Medals Award. They rated who provides the best customer service. And some of their ratings, they said, did the associate recommend a specific shoe? Did the associate ask your name? Listen to this. Of the stores that they visited, 67.5% of the people did not ask for the person's name. Oh my gosh, that's horrid. Were you greeted with a smile when you entered the store? 76% said yes. Okay, that's good. Look at this. How they greeted people, the criteria. How promptly were you greeted? 30 seconds rated a score of 4. If it took 1 minute, it was a 3. 90 seconds, it was a 2. And 2 minutes or more, it was a 1. If it was more than 2 minutes, it was rated a 0. Folks, we're not talking about 30 seconds here. Our stores are 800, 900, 1,000 square feet. It's within 3 seconds that customer walks in. Stop what you're doing, greet them, smile at them, and say, welcome to Foot Solutions. This should not be optional. This should be happening every single time. Even if you're with somebody else, you can look up and say, hi, welcome to Foot Solutions. Everyone could do that. But I promise you, not everyone will. It's got to be warm, enthusiastic, sincere, make eye contact, stop what you're doing. The sales process has started. Now we have to go to the next step, and that's approaching and engaging the customer. I'm going to give you some recommendations here because this is really where it determines whether a person likes us or not. There was a study done when you initially meet somebody. When you initially meet somebody, what is the biggest thing that influences them, whether they like you or not? Take a guess. Give me some numbers here. What do you think is the biggest thing that influences them? What do you think words, the words that come out of your mouth, what do you think statistically that study showed are the biggest percentage of influence? Anybody have a guess? Monel, it might be me and you, so at least chat with me so I know you're out there. Chat working? Hello? You guys here? 7% of the time. Words. Words only influence 7%. 38% was the tonality of how a person sounded. 55% of what influenced whether a customer liked somebody in that initial greeting and engagement was body language. I'm going to give you some hints here with body language. When you're approaching a customer, I don't want you to sit behind the counter, you're just waiting, and then a person walks in, and then you get up, and then you walk towards them. Their radar goes off, and they're going, salesperson's approaching. So we should be on the sales floor as much as we possibly can be. If we see a customer getting ready to walk through our doors, get up. If you're behind the counter, start arranging shoes, start getting a duster, start getting a bottle of Windex. Do something so you're out on the sales floor. And never approach a customer face to face. Do not square off with the customer, which means you're standing directly in their face. You always want to be at an angle when you're approaching somebody, so it's never just squared up. Body language is very important. Now, as we approach them, I want you to have a clipboard in your hand. Why? Because professionals use clipboard. Immediately, we are establishing authority that we know what we're doing and we know what we're talking about. Why a clipboard? Because it also avoids awkward hands of like, what are we supposed to do with our hands when we approach a customer? It's funny if you watch people and they haven't thought this out. They're like, oh, these things are in the way. I put them behind myself. Do I put them in front of myself? But I want you to have a clipboard so you could write down information. What should be on that clipboard? It should be the lifestyle evaluation forms. Every person has them. It should also be a chart so they can count how many people they talk to for the day. What are you going to do? That's the lifestyle evaluation form. It's there on the clipboard. You see a customer walking, you grab the clipboard, you walk up to the customer, you greeted them. Hi, welcome to Foot Solutions. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to understand that you need to relax. You need to have fun. This doesn't need to be robotic. I want you to treat the customer like an invited guest, like you invited somebody over your house. Make them feel comfortable. Smile. It's okay to have non-business conversation if needed. Oh, I love your purse. Oh, how old are your kids? There's a lot of things that you can talk to. Nobody wants to deal with pushy salespeople, but this is hard for some of you. You've got to learn, but if you've been in retail for a while, it should just become natural that, oh, hey, welcome to Foot Solutions. What is something else that you can talk about that people love to talk about? What is something that you could bring up? I want you to have conversation with somebody. I want you to relax. I want you to be very aware of your body language. Lionel says themselves, sure. Where you could talk about their compliment. Something else. What do people love to talk about? I mean, thank you, Lionel. It's the weather. The weather, it's like shocking. It's like, oh my gosh, it's 85 degrees. It's in the middle of June in the summer. What do you expect? But people like to talk about the weather. Oh, can you believe the weather out there? Yeah, I know. That's what you're doing is you're building a common bond. So this is the most relaxed part. Sports, yes, sports, John, are great. Especially if you have a local sports team that just won a championship or a local high school team. Something. Traffic. People like to talk about those things. So this is the relaxed part of the sales process. You can't make this just a rigid thing. But it still follows the process. We greet them, we approach them, we engage them. Now, I do not want you to ever ask this question ever again. It gets eliminated from the vocabulary. Have a jar, and people have to put 25 cents in the jar every time they ask this question. But do not ask, how can I help you? Let me practice. If I say, how can I help you, what response immediately comes to your mind? How can I help you? What comes to mind? This is, Lionel says, I'm just looking. It's been conditioned in us since we've been little kids walking into stores with our parents. We could be looking for something, and we walk into a store, and someone says, how can I help you? We say, I'm just looking. Now there's a statement that's been made, and internally people have to feel like they have to be consistent with it. So we want to reduce the percentage of times that a customer says, I'm just looking. A lot of times, have you ever had someone say, even if you ask the question, how can I help you, they said, I'm just looking, and then they say, oh, yeah, I'm looking for some new shoes. Oh, my feet hurt. I need something more comfortable. It's like they say it, and they don't even mean it. So let's not trigger that response. I don't want you to ask other things like, did you have any questions? What can I show you today, especially if you look like this guy? And is there something you're looking for? I want you to ask a simple question. And it's going to go like this. This is what I want you to do. Here's how I want you to approach the customer. We walk up to them. I want you to extend your hand, have good body language, and I want you to say, welcome to Foot Solutions. I'm Ron, and you are? What brings you in today, John? Nice to meet you, John. What brings you in today? A simple handshake. Welcome them, introduce yourself, and say, and you are, and guess where you're going to write their name down? On that clipboard that's in your hand. And when you're shaking your hands, watch this today. Just go ask your employees as they come in, hey, shake my hand. How would you shake your hand if you're a customer? You know what you're going to find? Some of them are crushing their hand. It's like, I don't know why they do that. Some of them do the limp fish. This is very common. Hey, how you doing? And then some of you are continual, never-ending handshakers. Hi, welcome to Foot Solutions. How you doing today? Great, nice to meet you. Oh, I'm Ron. And you? Oh, you're John. Oh, nice to meet you. Oh, what brings you in today? These are simple things, but I'm telling you, I've done this enough to find out that even this, if you don't practice this and set the stage just for at least a little bit, it doesn't take days to do this, you're going to see that they don't even know how to shake people's hands. So we've got the greeting. We've got the approach. Who greets the customer? Do a quick review. Who greets the customer? Everyone. Within how many seconds? 3 seconds. Even if we're with somebody else, well, I'm helping this person. Yeah, but you could look at somebody and say hi. We're going to try to be out on the sales floor as much as we possibly can, which means we shouldn't be behind the counter. I call that, when you're behind the counter and you got to get up, let me go after this customer and walk up to them. I call that the bear getting ready to eat its prey approach. Here comes the bear. The people say, their body language tenses them up. So you want to be out on the floor, you want to be busy, and you want to approach them with a handshake. You want to extend your hand. You want to smile. You want to say, welcome to Foot Solutions. I'm Ron and you are. You want to build rapport. You want to find some common things. You want to compliment them. I always say, you know what, if they got kids, that's the easiest things. Oh, I remember when my kids were that age. Maybe you don't have kids. Oh, I remember my nieces and nephews. Oh, they're so awesome. How old is your son? How old is your daughter? I don't have nieces and nephews. Oh, I remember when I was a kid. Oh, man, I used to have so much fun. Lighten up the conversation. I remember I was training a sales associate. He had a great sense of humor. And, teaching them how to break the ice and teaching them how to have fun with the customers. And his approach, he had his clipboard in his hand, and as he walked up to a customer, and he would kind of look at them and say, hey, look, my boss is over there. My boss told me that I'm supposed to say hi, welcome, and I'm supposed to shake your hand. So let me just do that. And he did it in a way that the customer would laugh, and they would look at me both smiling. This is the time for us to relax right here in the approach, because remember, it's all about getting them to like us, getting them to trust us. Some of you have to have conversations with your employees. I know I do. Their dress code is inappropriate. They haven't ironed that shirt in 10 years. It's the same dirty sock shirt that they've been wearing for 10 years. It's 4 taglines ago. Get a new shirt. Iron that thing. Brush your teeth. Because if you do not get them to like you and trust you because of something as simple as that, no matter what you say at that point, it's going to be welcome. That's why referrals are so important. Because when someone refers somebody, they like the person most of the time. If my brother says, go try this new pizza place, and I like my brother and I trust my brother, there's no sale that has to be made. If someone says, oh, go see John over there at Foot Solutions, that guy's great, he's going to take care of you, they're already coming with a like and approach. And unless we do something to screw it up, we're pretty much going to make a sale no matter what we recommend at that point. So that's what I want you to do, is practice these first 2 steps. I want you to practice them. I want you to go. Look, what does it matter if I show you how to start doing other demonstrations and recommendations and overcoming objections if we can't even do this? And believe me, if you do not practice it, if you do not inspect it, if you're not having this simple conversation about we greet everybody, and then what we're going to do is we're going to approach them with a handshake. I want you to build some rapport. I want you to start using a clipboard. I want you to have those lifestyle evaluation forms printed out on those. What does it matter then if we go any further with the sales process? We can't even do step 1 and 2. Step 3, what we're going to talk about in the next video, in the next webinar, is we're going to talk about how to get them on the scanner, what to say on the scanner, what to show on the scanner, why we're doing certain things. Because every step is building the next step. I'll also have a video out there today that gives a very quick 20-minute review of all 10 steps. At least start getting exposed to that. I know this seems simple. I know it seems elementary. But trust me, we get these steps down to become second nature so we don't think about it. Then when we go into the more advanced parts of the selling process and we begin better, you're going to see that the sales start increasing, your closing ratio starts increasing, your average ticket starts increasing. But let's start with step one. Let's start with step two. I've given you some things to think about. I've given you some things to implement in your store. And I want to know next week when you start talking, I want to just ask a question. How many people are coming through your store on a daily basis? If I walked into your store today, would they be greeting me the right way? Would they be approaching me the right way? That's it. Baby step one, baby step two. Lonell says it works. I know because I have used it. I know, Lonell, when I started working with you at first, this was like, okay, this is different. This is not how I was trained. I was trained to get him right in the seat. I was trained to do this stuff. But Lonell could tell you his orthotic sales started to go up tremendously. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, within 5 minutes, he skipped a lot of steps because we didn't even get to a lot of the sales training yet when I was working with him. But just because he was building rapport and going through some of the basics of the process, we were selling a $300 orthotic within 10 minutes. Okay, so that's your homework. Any questions, comments, feedback, suggestions? Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Hiron. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, Lonell, for the feedback. Thank you, John. John, I know you're doing some stuff with the sales process already. And as you start to see, as we roll out what we're doing with the stable steps and with the Perfetto branded stuff, and you're going to see, I think things just go through the roof. If you don't have any questions or comments, thank you very much. I appreciate you. I'll post this training today, and I'll see you next week. But next week, you know, it's going to be a little different. I'm not going to allow you to just be silent. This is not just an exposure class. This is also a demonstration and a role play class. So I want you to, as best as you can, even if I just open up your phone line, let's go through this. Let's go through this step. Put your salespeople, put your couple employees, whatever you have in your store, on this call, and let's practice it. So thank you very much, and have a great day. I'm going to stop the recording, but if you have questions or comments, I'll stay on for an extra couple minutes.